How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Sacktown Sports Kings recap, coming to you live from Golden One Center after the Sacramento Kings take down the Los Angeles Clippers by a score of 109-95 in what was, I'm going to say it was a pretty unexpected result. Even though Kawhi Leonard wasn't going tonight, that it wasn't going to be just that simple for Sacramento. We've seen this team fumble a ton of games this year against opponents that they realistically should easily handle. And, you really can't pencil anything in when it comes to this team because, we've learned to expect the unexpected. And when things seem easiest, they never truly are. So even though Kawhi doesn't go tonight, still was a little bit on alert, still felt like the Clippers were a very dangerous team. And ultimately, the Kings made pretty easy work of them. And that's exactly what you want to see, building some positive momentum as the Kings are about to hit the road here for what is an incredibly crucial stretch of games as they hit the road and go to the East Coast to play, teams like the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, Oklahoma City Thunder, just to name a few. And I believe that's actually the entire road trip in itself. But there is a long road ahead when it comes to the Sacramento Kings' quest to potentially maybe still have hope of holding on to that sixth seed dream. I think I saw that the Mavericks did lose tonight, Golden State Warriors, so that does bring the Kings a little bit closer. I don't think they've updated the standings here yet. But the Kings are actually, no, they have. The Kings are only a game back now of not only the Clippers, but of the Dallas Mavericks as well in that 6-7 spot. So, tonight was a really, really big game. If they can win on what will that be, Thursday against the New York Knicks, and then they play a back-to-back on Friday against the Celtics. And we'll see. I mean, the Knicks aren't going to have OG Anunoby on that one. He wasn't a big factor when they played the other day here in Sacramento. But nonetheless, I mean, that's a really, really good player that the Knicks could use. And then that Boston Celtics situation, we don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, the Celtics are kind of in an experimental mode right now where they've already clinched the top seed in the Eastern Conference. So they can afford to kind of play with their food a bit. The other day, I saw Joe Mazzulla talking about how he's messing around defensively with allowing Porzingis to guard point guards because – just in the playoffs, that might happen. So that's kind of where the Celtics are at this point in their season. So you don't know what exactly you're going to see when the Kings play them on Friday. You might see the Celtics maybe rest some players. So I think it's not completely all doom and gloom when it comes to this Kings situation. Obviously, they're definitely not in the driver's seat. They don't control their own destiny. But at the same time, if they close the season well, they're going to put themselves in a really, really good spot. I know things are going to be crazy wave of emotions from day to day. If you listened to anybody really today, I'm sure there was a lot of conversation about where this team is at and should you give up on the 6th seed. It's really not completely out of grasp. If you look at the schedules, you might think it is, but the reality of the situation is the Kings play a head-to-head game against the New Orleans Pelicans. That can make up a full game. They play a game against the Phoenix Suns. That can separate the Suns when it comes to that 7-8 matchup for Sacramento. So there's still a lot of really big games when it comes to where the Kings will fall and if they can still put themselves in a situation to win here. But tonight was definitely a step in the right direction. Domantas Sabonis was absolutely incredible. He finishes with 22 points, 20 rebounds, and 9 assists. A 20-20 and almost 10 performance from Sabonis. And that's incredible because we've talked about how Ivica Zubac has kind of given Sabonis problems in the past, and you just can't have that. At this point in the season, with how down bad the Kings are, you can't have Sabonis having bad games. And so if Zubac would have slowed him down really at all today, it would have been a problem for the Kings. And, yeah, I see you a mid-rock in here pointing out Alex Len with 3 blocks. Not only did Alex Len have 3 blocks, I want to make sure that this is still true. I believe Alex Len finished the game with 2 points and had the highest plus-minus of anybody in the game. I'm not 100% sure if that's how it ended, but it was on track. It might have not shown up in the. I mean, you just look at the box. You say Alex Len, 12 minutes, 2 of 2. Okay, yeah, he had 7 rebounds, 4 points. He was a plus 18, which was a team high. But the 3 blocks were so big. He had one on Russell Westbrook that was huge. He had one to start the either third quarter or second quarter that was just massive. And I pulled up the numbers on Alex Len before. If you're into plus minus and net rating and things like that, Alex Len is truly a marvel to look at. His stats when it comes to the Kings' offensive and defensive rating when he's out on the floor is not only best on the team, but it's some of the best numbers in the NBA. As hard as that is to believe, Alex Len does lead a lot of stats when it comes to the advanced numbers. I want to see if I can pull up some here. And it's kind of tough because you have to kind of filter it out with games played. I'll do 35 games played because that's about half the season at this point. And if you look at minimum of 35 games played of every single player in the NBA, Alex Len has the highest net rating, which means the difference of his offensive rating and his defensive rating is the biggest in the NBA. Obviously, you want as high of an offensive rating as possible and as low of a defensive rating as possible. Alex Len clocks in with a 116 offensive rating, which means when he's on the floor, his team scores 116 points per 100 possessions, and he has a defensive rating of 101.3, which means that on average, when he is on the floor, his team is giving up only 101.3 points per 100 possessions, which is just elite. Again, looking at a filter of 35 games played or more, Alex Len has the second highest defensive rating in the entire NBA. In the entire NBA, Alex Len has the second best defensive rating. So that essentially means that when he's on the floor, the Kings are an elite defense. They really are, because he provides the thing that this team doesn't have if he's not out there, and that's size. It's a completely different look that completely transforms who this team can be. And when you factor in the fact that, yeah, his offensive rating is still really, really high, 116.3. I think that's just below where the Kings are as a team. So he's really not slowing down their offense at all when he's out there. I think the more Alex Len minutes you can get, the better. And looking at it, the Kings' offensive rating this season is 116.5. So for Alex Len to pretty much have that as his offensive rating as well, it's saying the Kings' offense quite literally stays the same. It stays about as baseline as what they normally are. You just really are only getting a lot better defense when Alex Len is out there, and that's kind of what it feels like. If you watch with your eyes and you don't really look at the numbers, I feel like you can still see that Alex Len has a massive impact on the defensive end. And that's exactly what this team needs with Malik out, with Kevin Huerter out. I think these guys are going to have to lean into a lot more of a defensive mindset. You see Davion Mitchell, he knocked down a ton of shots today, which allowed him to play a ton of minutes. It was incredible. Keon Ellis ended up in foul trouble, but the fact that Davion was able to hit his shots and stay on the floor was really massive today. I mean, I have Davion down there in the stats at the bottom. I think he was the Kings' second best player today. I think Domantas Sabonis obviously was just all over the place, but Keegan was phenomenal, hitting not only his threes, which I think he only had 2 made threes on the night, but you saw step back mid-range jump shots. You saw him attack the rim a couple times. You saw him catch a body on a Ivica Zubac in the paint there. This was the aggressive Keegan Murray that this team needs to see. He took 17 shots through 3 quarters, finished with 18 shots on the night, led second on the team in field goal attempts, behind De'Aaron Fox, who had 20. That's what you have to see. You have to see that every single night from Keegan Murray. You hope he gets to the line more than one time. De'Aaron went had 7 free throw attempts, and Sabonis had 10. But that's really the last part of Keegan Murray's game that's missing. We've seen that mid-range jumper and that floater tonight looked incredible. But Keegan's got to be able to get to the line a little bit more. And I did notice today, and he talked about it the other day in his press conference, he's starting to play make a bit, especially in the pick and roll. Without Malik there, they really have a massive hole when it comes to their pick and roll offense. When De'Aaron's not out there, they don't have anybody that they really trust to have the ball in their hands. They've run a lot more of actually Sabonis being the ball handler in a pick and roll situation. But today, I saw a couple moments where Keegan is looking to facilitate, and that's not something we've seen from him really. So you see even late in the season, Keegan's still developing, still working on things, and hopefully come playoff time, the Kings have a bit of it that they feel comfortable rolling out for a couple minute stretch, because there's going to be a time where De'Aaron Fox is not giving this team what they need, and they're going to need somebody else to step up. In the times this season when that's happened, it's usually been Malik Monk that's been able to step up, but without him there, they're going to need somebody. And Keegan Murray, I think, is the most obvious choice. And you see tonight that I think he's maybe ready to take that next step in his development. We saw the first half of this season was really focused on Keegan taking a step forward. Since then, it's kind of been put on the back burner. I think now is a great time to kind of reinvest in Keegan's development and really just give him a final exam. This is the end of his second season. After this, he's no longer viewed. You can almost argue Keegan Murray's a veteran after this season. So I wouldn't mind giving him a bit of a, hey, here's your rookie final, if you will. After this, no one will ever question your standing in the league, because if you can handle the pressure that we're about to put on you, man, that's just not something that's usually asked of players. So definitely hope to see a lot more of what we saw tonight out of Keegan Murray. Let's see here. I thought De'Aaron was good tonight. I thought obviously getting to the free throw line was fantastic. I thought he did a good job of kind of, even though he wasn't the most efficient from the field, felt like he had a good sense of when his team kind of needed him to bring it a bit. And I think that's going to be a part of this is without Malik there's going to be times when, again, nobody can score. De'Aaron's got to recognize those moments, and even if he's not hitting shots, he's got to stay aggressive. And I definitely thought he did parts of that tonight. Again, not the most efficient night. I think he finishes 6 of 20, and we've seen a couple of those nights here from De'Aaron. But honestly, that's a necessary evil at this point. I don't really think you can worry about De'Aaron Fox's efficiency in these games, as long as he's not chucking it up from three, which there were a couple of moments tonight where I wasn't sure about the shot selection, but as long as he's really not just throwing it up from three. He was 1 of 7 from three tonight. That's tiptoeing on what we're talking about, but as long as he's not, just settling for jumpers, I think De'Aaron can't really take too many shots at this point. Trey was great tonight. Trey was absolutely phenomenal. Love to see Trey kind of picking up where he left off last year. This season's been a lot of up and downs. Hasn't really felt the same impact that Trey had last year. And I think that you see him coming back from injury at a perfect time when Malik's out, and they really are going to rely on him to hit his triples. He had 4 tonight, if I'm not mistaken. He had 3 tonight. He was 3 of 8, finished with 15 points, got 5 assists, 4 boards from Trey. 5 assists is actually, that's really, really good for Trey Lyles. That might even be a season high for him when it comes to assists. If he's going to get involved like that, I mean, that's how I think this especially the second unit is going to have to play. They really don't have a lot of secondary playmakers besides De'Aaron Fox, and I think that they're going to have to run their offense, keep the ball moving, keep the players moving, and just try and take open looks when they come. And it's a lot easier said than done. I'm looking at it. Trey has only had more than 3 assists once, and he had 6 against the Pelicans. He had 5 tonight. So the second most assists Trey has had in a game this season. But yeah, I definitely think that's going to be the recipe the rest of this way is just kind of everybody, ball movement, player movement, and if you have an open look, don't even hesitate to let that thing fly. A thing about tonight is absolutely the continuation of the Sacramento Kings becoming a legitimate defense. I'll say it again, the Sacramento Kings are becoming a legitimate defense. I just tweeted it out right after the game was over. The Kings have now held 12 of their last 13 games, have held their opponents to under 112 points. 112 points or under in 12 of their last 13 games. They have also allowed 5 of those opponents to score under 100 points, which they had only done 5 times all season long. 5 times in the first 62 games, the Kings held their opponents under 100 points. In 5 of their last 13, they have held opponents underneath 100 points. That is a sign that this team has committed on the defensive end, and I just think it's going to have to be more of that down the stretch. Without Malik, without Kevin Huerter, you can't rely on your offense to be there every night. As a matter of fact, even tonight, the Kings shoot 29% from 3. A lot of those misses come in the fourth quarter. They ended the third quarter 36%, which is right about where the Kings want to be for their winning number. But the fact that the Kings at the end of the game do end up with 29%, only score 109 points and still pull out a comfortable victory, I think that's a massive, massive sign of progress for this ball club. And I just think the more of these games that they can have, I think the better they're going to be in the long run. Because if you have the capability of missing shots and not freaking out and not feeling like the game is over simply because the shots aren't going in, I think those are teams that are really, really dangerous, because it doesn't matter how the game script goes. They just are constantly fighting and fighting and fighting. And tonight, you felt that hunger. You really did feel like this team was aware that they don't have any more opportunities to trick off games. And I think it's wonderful to see, because it really should have came a long time ago. And now they're playing with the sense of urgency that they probably should have had for probably like the last month or so. So better late than never, I guess. Yeah, Sasha gave some weird minutes today. I thought it was interesting that he was a part of the rotation. I noticed that he gave Chris Duarte the first run. Also, who else? It was Duarte that he gave the run to. We saw some really weird lineups today. We saw Keegan at the 2 with, it was like a Davion, Keegan, Sasha, Trey, Alex, Len lineup that then subbed Sabonis for Len, and then subbed HB for Trey. And then I think Duarte came in for Vezenkov. But we saw a lot of Keegan, or not a lot, but we saw a bit of Keegan Murray at the 2, which I think is something that intrigues me a lot. I think a lot of Keegan Murray's game does translate to the 2-guard position. It's really just a matter of if he can guard that position. But he really provides the Kings with length, which is something that we've talked about all season long. Teams with length really bother Sacramento. And if the Kings can kind of turn that into a positive from themselves, if they can run a De'Aaron, Keegan, Trey, Sasha, Len, or Sabonis lineup, you don't really have to worry about being a smaller team. Maybe you have to worry about physicality a little bit, or maybe even speed, maybe being too big. But if you're just getting dominated by a team like the Timberwolves, who can throw out tons of bigs, I kind of feel like the Kings are in a situation here where they might actually be able to go size for size, which is a very, very nice turn of events. And if Keegan's going to be attacking the rim the way he is, look out. Look out. Yeah, that dunk from Keegan was crazy. And that's also a product of the Kings. Really, I mean, it was a product of the defense. There was 2 moments tonight where the Kings defense led to a massive, actually one of them didn't lead to a dunk, but super early in this game, I think it was Trey Lyles was guarding, I want to say it was James Harden. It might have been Norm Powell. But you see them kind of get into, it's a loose ball. Trey dives. Whoever the Clipper player was dove, gets the ball, kind of holds it above his head. And you see Chris Duarte snatch it run up on the break. It was a great play. Just the awareness for Duarte to go up and get that ball, I thought was huge. It was a big momentum play here in the arena. Crowd got crazy. Crowd really was into it tonight. There was a lot of big pops, but none bigger than, the Kings getting a nice little steal on Norm Powell. And I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. I think Keegan pushed the break, and the funny thing was there was legitimate 3 Clippers that didn't take a step after that steal. They stayed on offense. They left poor Zubac and I think Terrence Mann on the other side all by themselves to guard a 2-on-4. Keegan drives the lane and just yams it on Ivica Zubac. You love to see it, man. That's and I think Keegan even kind of gave a little little shoulder shrug and a little smirk at the end. So I love it when we get to see Keegan show emotion, show any emotion, anger, happiness, sadness, anything. Definitely got a little bit of a smirk out of Keegan on that dunk. That was absolutely the play of the game, and hopefully Keegan watches that and he's like, I can do that more, coach. I can get up and be aggressive. Absolutely. All we need is HB, man. We just need HB to kind of get the memo, because tonight 6 points for him. All of those were in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. He finished 25 minutes, which is honestly surprising. I think at halftime he had 8. Yeah, he had 8 minutes at halftime, which just wasn't giving much. He only took 1 shot in that first half. You can't have that, man. You cannot have that at this point in the season. I know Keegan's being aggressive. He's looking for his shot. Davion was hitting his shot, so maybe that takes away some of HB's attempts as well. But I just kind of can't believe that HB goes an entire first half with 1 shot attempt, not a single trip to the free throw line. I think all game. Yeah, you just can't. That's about as bad as it's going to get from Harrison Barnes, and it's kind of, it's frankly unacceptable at this point in the season. 6 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, a steal, 2 of 7 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 0 of 0 from the line. HB's just he's got to be more impactful. They were able to get the win tonight, and HB definitely played a factor in Paul George being. I just didn't notice PG tonight, to be honest. I was shocked to find he had 30 minutes through 3 quarters. I noticed him in the first quarter, maybe a bit. No, yeah, it was really just the first quarter, because that second quarter was all Norm Powell. I just didn't think PG was a big enough factor. He had 41 their last game against the Charlotte Hornets. I thought without Kawhi, it was going to be just a huge diet of Paul George. It was a lot of James Harden. I think they thought that they could expose Sabonis in the pick and roll with Zubac, but nothing was there. Harden was very unaggressive, seemed very disinterested. He finished with, he was 1 of 7, I think, from the floor. Yeah, Harden finished 1 of 7, 1 of 5 from 3, 6 points, 8 assists, 5 turnovers. I mean, that's terrible. I don't know why James Harden hates Sacramento so much, but this is now the second time Harden's had just a really, really bad game in Sacramento. He's kind of notorious for having an all-time clunker when he left the Brooklyn Nets. His last game with the Nets was absolutely terrible, and he's never been more disinterested in his entire career. But something about Sacramento, James Harden just does not mess with, which I'm A-okay with. I'm so fine with that, James. This city got nothing to offer you, pal. Yep. Is that it? I think we talked about Sasha a little bit. Not much from him tonight. I think Amid Rock did say, and I do agree, probably would have been nice to see him in that garbage time at the end of the game. I think Sasha kind of just needs reps at this point, and Mike Brown needs to see him in game action to kind of trust him. And I think these late game blowouts are great situations to look at what you have with Sasha. Unfortunately, didn't get a good look at him tonight. And I did take note, you had James Harden, Norm Powell, and Paul George combined 10 of 26 tonight. That is absolutely phenomenal. That is going to win 10 out of 10 times. 10 of 26 from their 3 best scorers. That is how you get it done, ladies and gentlemen. That is not something that we saw at all in those two Dallas games. Kyrie and Luka absolutely cooked both of those games. Kings did a great job of making sure that the Clippers just didn't get into anything they wanted to tonight. I don't think Paul George was comfortable. I don't even think Norm Powell, who was hot as hell in that first half, I don't even think he got shots that he felt great about. James Harden wasn't even looking to shoot. So, just a great win for this team. And now you really have a tough road ahead of you as you are hitting the road and hitting the East Coast. Knicks game, it's going to be a tough one. You're in the Garden. That's a really big environment. I think that's going to be on national TV as well. You're going to feel the pressure in that one. That Celtics game on Friday, you're going to feel the pressure on that one. Hopefully the Kings are ready for a really big challenge, because even though Boston has clinched things up, and I talked all about all that, even if the Celtics are playing guys like Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard, they're still really dangerous. They're incredibly deep, and anybody they throw out there is a massive threat. So you can't really overlook those Celtics games. So hopefully the Kings can take care of business on the road. I will be live from the home studio in those ones, so definitely don't forget to check me out even on the road after those ones. We can hop in to the live stream a little bit closer to immediately after those games, because I don't have to worry about people clearing out of the arena and stuff. But before we get out of here, we're going to do our 3 stars of the night. My first star is going to go to Davion Mitchell. I have him here in the stats: 14 points, 4 made threes, plus 16 on the box plus minus. Davion's shooting was so big tonight. I thought he was their best shooter. And he's been a really by Morgan. He's been a really good shooter for them. It's been like 2.5 months now where Davion's been at about 40%. He's worked so hard on his shot since he got into the league, and you really see it starting to pay off. It'll be interesting to see just in general how many minutes he's afforded every night. It seems like that 20-minute mark is almost a guarantee. But I just thought Davion was really impactful tonight, and I'm going to give him the 1 star of the game. I'm going to give 2 stars to Keegan. I was thinking about which one I wanted to go 1 and which one I wanted to go 2. Keegan just kind of, the threes still aren't falling at a crazy high rate. Even the just efficiency in general, when he was 8 of 18 tonight. You could do a little bit better, but at the end of the day, man, you saw a lot of things in the right direction. That dunk was huge. Some of his finishes, his floaters were huge. You just the 2-point game in general, which I feel like we haven't talked about since the beginning of the season, but Keegan Murray working on the inside of the arc is so big for his development. We know what he can do from 3, but if he can kind of keep defenders off balance by having that 2-point approach, and if he has that floater game and he starts to attack the rim and you really keep defenders guessing, that's where Keegan becomes an elite scorer, and everything else will just flow off of that. His playmaking will be so much easier if everyone's afraid of what he's going to do as a scorer. So I think him establishing himself as that is the biggest part of Keegan's development right now. And I'm going to give him 2 stars for tonight. Definitely exactly what you want to see these past 2 games with Malik Monk out, is just Keegan Murray taking the initiative to take shots. 3 stars is going to Domantas Sabonis, because I'm a simple man, ladies and gentlemen. I see numbers, I see big numbers, and I go, wow, ooh, big numbers. 22 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists. You could argue that it wasn't the splashiest performance, but I just thought he absolutely dominated Zubac. Zubac gave him a lot of problems last time they played. Zubac was just a big body, held his ground, didn't really do anything special, but just made it hard for Sabonis to get 2 feet into the paint and get easy layups. Tonight, Sabonis completely flipped it on him. Zubac was terrible inside the paint, and Sabonis got whatever he wanted all game long. You saw him take a mid-range. He took a ton of threes tonight. I think this might have been the most threes Sabonis has taken in a game. He took 3. Let me see if Sabonis has taken 3 threes in a game this year. He was not afraid to put him up, and I think that's the aggressiveness that you see when not having Malik Monk. Sabonis was not afraid to let that thing fly, even if he hasn't done it. He has not taken more than 3 attempts. This is the 6th time this season Sabonis has taken 3 threes in a game. And yes, absolutely short cake. That's a good call. Let's give half a star for Alex Len for those highlights and just for being the presence that has gone unnoticed pretty much for the most part of this year. But yeah, Sabonis just absolutely incredible tonight. Finishes with 22 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists. He did have a couple turnovers, especially in the first quarter. Just wasn't loving how Sabonis was performing, but 7 offensive rebounds, part of a 20 offensive rebound night for the Kings, which is their second highest offensive rebounding total of the season. And it could not have came at a better time. I think a lot of people were counting this game as an L, and the fact that the Kings turned it into a W, I think is really, really big, because you did not want to head into this road trip feeling bad about those 2 Dallas games and picking up this loss and just feeling like, oh no, we're stumbling into the end of the season. We're just crawling to the finish line. Now you feel like you have a little bit of momentum, a little bit of wind in your sails. And hey, if you beat the Knicks on Thursday, I really think you start to feel good about yourself. That puts you maybe a half game behind the 6 and the 5 and the 6 seed in the Western Conference. So again, this thing can flip really quickly. If the Kings win on a night like tonight, it might sound crazy, but why can't they win against the Boston Celtics as well? So who knows? Who knows how this thing is going to end? I do know that the Kings have definitely made it really, really hard on themselves, but that doesn't mean that they can't surprise everybody and take care of business. So we'll be here to chronicle it all. I'm sure all of you will be here as well, as you guys are every single night, just being the absolute great people that you are, the absolute legends that y'all are, for tuning in to this live stream after every single game. I will join y'all again on Thursday after the Kings take on the New York Knickerbockers in the Mecca in Madison Square Garden. Y'all have a fantastic night, and I always, I don't know if it's because we haven't had enough this year. I always forget that there's a beam out there waiting for me, so appreciate you, Manny, for reminding me that, because I do truly forget that there is a beam waiting outside for me. I hope y'all get to enjoy it as well. You have a fantastic night, and I will either see you tomorrow, 10 to 2, Styles and Watkins, right here on Sacktown Sports 1140, or I'll see you on Thursday after the conclusion of Kings Knicks. Y'all have a fantastic night. Peace.